Welcome back, everybody, to ADHD and Free, the podcast brought to you by the Awareness Space Network, a podcast and social media platform that explores how ADHDers can live their truth and feel free in their lives. We hear from inspiring coaches, therapists, experts, and fellow ADHDers from all over the world who sit down with me, Owen Morgan, to share their wisdom with us. I'm a wellbeing coach and a passionate neurodivergent human who received his ADHD diagnosis at 41. That day, the truth transformed my life, and I was finally free of the burden of not knowing why I struggled to fit into traditional societal expectations. Can you hear me, ADHDers? My mission is to explore how the human spirit and understanding of our whole self can bring us a life full of possibilities. So, guys, we are back with another Thrive Guide episode. And on today's show, we have ADHD coach Charlotte Fry. This is our second episode. So I'm really excited to see what I can learn on this journey of the episode. So, welcome to the show, Charlotte. Thank you so much for being with us in the early stages of this iteration of the show. How are you? Are you excited? Are you a podcast veteran? Do you like listening on the
Hello. Thank you so much. Yeah, I'm it's so weird actually the last time I did a podcast when someone did the intro, and I don't know if you get this as an ADHD, I get a wave. It's like I feel everything inside. And we're gonna call that energy. So yeah, I've got a wave of energy just come over me. I'm ready to go into a nice chat.
Yeah, good. I never know how people are going to feel about doing this. I have so many people that are doing it for the first time, and that's really special for me to hold that space. But I know it's not the first time, but it's close. So thank you for allowing me to do this with you, which is great. So before we go into a little bit about your story, about why you do what you do, why you're passionate about it, and more importantly, how you help people, I would just give us a bit of context. So tell us a little bit before your actual story about your business right now, kind of how you're working with people, just so people can get a sense of how you may be useful to them, I suppose.
Sure. So, to its core, I'm an ADHD coach. That is a life coach, and then with the expert knowledge of ADHD. So, for the last 14 years, I've been working with ADHD and ASD in private and clinical settings. What that means is, because I think that's a lot of words. In my sort of early 20s, I started off as a primary school teacher, sorry, a nursery school teacher. And then I went into special needs space. So I became a Senko officer. And I saw really quickly that I had a real passion for connecting with children of any kind of special needs. So this could be learning difficulties, autism, ADHD. Later on in my career, there is no money in teaching, and I am money driven, or it was money driven. So I realized very quickly that it wasn't sustainable for me to stay in special needs teaching. And I went into private nannying. So the nannying that I did was always with children that had a special learning difficulty and young teens. So this was autism, mainly autism, some syndrome conditions, and ADHD. So ADHD being the main one. And with that, with the ultra high net worth crazies, as I call them, came a lot of money, which meant that I was flown all around the world to work with top specialists, early intervention therapies, you name it. I've done it, I've learned it, and I've applied it to lots of different children, and saw the transformative effect that these therapies can have on someone's life. Now, within that, I realised that being a nanny, you're not just looking after the kids, you're looking after the parents. And that's kind of where the coaching came in. Because whilst I was, yes, managing these children with special needs and young teens, I was also managing the parents, which more often than not also had ADHD. And so I naturally was coaching for years, pulling out the best in people. And I got to around probably, I'm going off topic. You asked me how my coaching services help. So essentially I work one-to-one with clients. So we do once a week. I work with people over 12 weeks. I don't do anything less than that. There are coaches out there that will do one-off sessions, but I don't, because my aim or my mission statement within my business is I want to work with you for 12 weeks. And by the end of the 12 weeks, you have every single tool, strategy specifically tailored for you, that you do not need me anymore. My aim isn't to keep you in therapy or coaching forever. I want you to have the tools to go off and thrive. And so, yeah, it's 12. I work with people over 12 weeks, one-to-one every week. And then, as obviously coaching's expensive, and we all know that. Obviously, you've got access to work funding, which pays for coaching if you're eligible for it. So I have the ADHD Club as well, which is my super cheap entry way into finding these tools, finding these resources at a very affordable rate. So it's like, I think at the moment it's £20 a month, and it's a whole community of us. There's group coaching once a month, and all the tools in the classroom to kind of coach yourself. So that's kind of what I'm doing at the moment.
That's amazing. I completely agree with you on the package, the 12-week package idea, or however long you're going to do it. I totally agree with that because it's so easy for people to come in and out. They're really struggling, so they'll book you in for a session, and you don't hear from them for months, and then they rebook again, and it's just not going to help. They're just yo-yoing around. So
There's no yeah, there's no consistency in it, and I think so. My main reason that it's 12 weeks, and this happens with nearly every single client, between the weeks 4 and 6, I get a message, hiya, can we skip this week? And that's your ADHD kicking in. The dopamine's worn off. The new person that's fluffy and fun and warming and loving and you're excited has worn off. And you're like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. This is hard work. That's the point that the work really starts to begin, because that's the point that we're changing the brain behavior. And that's the part that I'm really passionate about within my coaching, is making the changes to the behavior for good rather than a short-term fix.
yeah, so interesting, isn't it? Like doing the work, whether you're neurotypical or otherwise. Doing the work is always it's the big bit. And I know I'm trying to integrate new stuff since I found out about my diagnosis, and it's bloody difficult. Your brain doesn't want to do it. It just wants to carry on doing its wildness. So, yeah, it's amazing. I totally concur with what you're saying there. So I was looking on your website, and it says you've been sort of in this for 14 years. So is that 14 years the story you previously just told, or is that 14 years actually with this coaching, or is it the whole?
No, that's as a whole. So working with ADHD and ASD, I've been in this space for 14 years in total. Actually, just ADHD coaching the last 2 years.
Amazing. So the big question is the why. So why is this so important to you, Charlotte? Why do you care so much about us NDers?
So obviously, okay, so I'm ADHD myself. I'm combined type. Now I think the medical journal will change soon with the labeling of ADHD, because there's lots of different studies that say ADHD, ADD. I was actually diagnosed with ADD, even though that was written out of medical literature in the 80s. And the bit that I'm most passionate about is the misinformation that's passed around through GPs, doctors, people that are not actually qualified to be giving that information out. So when I was younger, I was diagnosed at 12 with ADHD. At 15, I had a suicide attempt. Now, the suicide attempt led to the doctor saying she's bipolar, and that needs addressing, which then led to a decade being on the wrong medication. The ADHD was never addressed, never was an issue. It was never oh, she needs to get her ADHD under control. It was, she's just a manic depressive with, she's got bipolar and anxiety. At the age of 28, I had another full clinical burnout, which led to another suicide attempt. And it was at that point that I realized this can't carry on like this. I've been on medication. I've been in decades of therapy. I've been in therapy since I was 15. How many more therapists and strategies and tools and cognitive behavioral therapy and tapping and all, you name it, how many more modalities do I need to learn in order to just be okay? And I went and saw an amazing doctor who essentially said, you've got to get your ADHD under control. And it was at 28, after this huge, big kind of traumatic life experience, that I realized I can't do this. I can't keep going like this. I can't keep hurting the people around me, and I don't want to live like this anymore. And so I went absolutely deep dived in on my ADHD. I knew all the tools for everyone else, but I couldn't recognize it for myself. And I think that's the most powerful thing about having a coach. And I had a coach at that time. It's because they're able to see your behavior. When you're in it, you can't. And so my real drive is to really educate people on the inner workings of their mind, because the amount of people that are misdiagnosed, that they think they're riddled with anxiety, depression, all the rest of it, and it's not. It's actually just your ADHD. I mean, obviously some people, there will be clinical depression and anxiety. I'm not qualified enough to say whether that's the what's happening, but with the ADHD fully under control, it's amazing how very quickly these feelings of depression, anxiety start to dissipate.
Yeah, firstly, thank you so much for sharing about some of the traumatic moments there. We've done a lot of work on trauma on this podcast, and I've heard some really, really intense, heartbreaking stories. But it's really amazing that you're here with this most amazing energy and so much passion. And it just shows to all NDers out there that when you're experiencing all of these sensations and you don't know why, people don't get how bad that can get. And it's a prime example of
Mhm.
that. And it's people just don't seem to be able to give you the answers. And you're spending thousands, like I did, thousands of pounds on therapy and coaching. And they weren't seeing any of that. So I was essentially just going around in circles. This is how we're treating your anxiety. It wasn't working because it was a sympathetic charge for me overdoing it. And it's just not going to work. And it's only until you know in that moment, oh, okay, I've got my label, I've got my diagnosis. So now I actually can do some research on the tools that I actually need. And I can see why that must be quite a driver for you. It's like, okay, right, I've got the tools. Oh my God, I need to tell the world. And I need to help people
Yeah.
their lives. So is that kind of you've covered some of the questions coming up, which is great, which is, the diagnosis was coming. How did that impact your life? How did you feel about it? But I guess from childhood, you kind of was already in your life. So we could probably home in on, though, you saw this amazing doctor and then you sort of really honored that it was ADHD. What was the moment like?
Yeah.
Did you have the grief moment? Did you feel liberated? What was that when you were 28? What was that? What did it feel like? People need to know how epic or sad it could be.
I think there's definitely different transitions of getting that diagnosis. There's different stages of diagnosis. I think people think that you're going to go to the doctor and you're going to get told, "Yep, you've got ADHD. Here's a pill. Everything's going to be okay now," and that's just not the case for so many people. That some people the medication works, some people it doesn't. Um, I was someone that medication just never worked. I've always been creative. My brain has always I don't know if you relate to this, but I always had a feeling as a kid and as a teen or even as an adult, I always knew I was special. There was there was something about it. I was like, there is something special in me. There's something different. There's something special. But on the flip side of that, it was a crippling, you're not good enough. And I think when I really got to the bottom of, okay, so that feeling of you're special, there's like you have the ability to achieve but you don't, I realized that was always ADHD. It was never an ability problem. We are always capable. But it's the doing part that was the struggle. And I think for me, understanding, why was I yo-yo dieting? Why was I binge drinking, binge eating, turning to drugs? Failed relationships, friendships that I think that I've lost when actually that was just RSD. That side of it is massive grief because you look at it and you think, oh God, how different that could have gone. But for me, that was quite short-lived. I think I've always been someone that can kind of process, understand, and then kind of go, right, that was that. All we can do now is look at what we can change and what, control the controllables. So I think when I was kind of going deep dive into, okay, well then how do I, this amazing doctor that was able to say to me, look, it's your ADHD, get that under control, and I think you're going to be fine. That feeling, I mean, and I don't know if you relate to this, but it was definitely a feeling of I'm lost. I am so lost. Like, who on this planet is going to understand this crazy brain of mine? Like, who? And I did lots of research and I tried lots of different therapists and no one was getting it. And because at the time I just couldn't find a good, affordable ADHD specialist. Where was I going with this? Sorry, I'm having a classic ADHD moment. I've gone blank.
No worries.
Um, uh, where was I going with that?
Well, I'll jump back on in. So, well, so you were saying there, which is quite an interesting one, isn't it? It's kind of like we talk about doing the work earlier on, and it's we all could do with doing having better habits and having better routines and having more self-compassion, taking care of ourselves in a really, yeah, just really compassionate way, really. But it's what people need to realize if you're listening to this and say someone you know has got ADHD and that's why you're listening, is that if we don't do that work, it can cause utter chaos. So it's not like there's a lot riding on the work. If you don't do it, your life could just completely unravel. It's very neurotypical. It might be slightly different, where it won't unravel like it would for us. So people who need to honor when we're saying no to going to something because we really need to take care of our brain, there is a reason that it's going to benefit them as well, that we're not going in
Mm.
front of their eyes. Anyway, back to you.
Sorry, no, it's come to me now because you've just kind of the point about not feeling lost and doing the work. Okay, so us ADHDers, and I see this in every client I have ever, everyone knows what's good for us. We know that drinking water and not eating alcohol and moving our body and maybe doing some mindfulness meditation, we know that's wonderful and good. But the part that we fall back on, and this is our ADHD brain here, is the executive functioning part of doing, okay? We have the plan. It's not the planning that's the problem, it's the doing. And that piece I was saying about the doctor saying you just need to get that under control. The feeling of feeling lost wasn't that the resources, I mean, I knew the things that I needed to do, but how do I do that? And actually this brings us back round to your original question of why am I doing this? It's to help people not feel lost. It's because it can be really, really lonely with ADHD. You can feel like you are the only one in the world that is suffering in the way that you're suffering. But when you have a deep understanding and someone that connects with you, that fully understands you, to soothe that part of your brain to go, well, that's why that's happening. Right. I've got my head around that. That's when we can start making change. And that's when we can start applying the tools and doing the work. But if you haven't even got the tools to start doing the work is even a problem because we're stuck there in the procrastination. We're stuck on the, how do I begin? Where do I start?
It's interesting, isn't it? Because the more I interview people and the more I listen to endless podcasts every night at work, I'm seeing the thread of what they're saying you should do. I'm like, this is too obvious. There's all these little things: move more, eat well, focus on your sleep, lots of self-compassion, mindfulness, breath work, especially for getting your heart in sync with your brain. So getting them the rhythm, if the rhythm's the same, it really, really helps your nervous system. All the stuff I already knew, I was like, shut up, give me something and
Just tell
different.
me
With
how to
ADHD
do
based. There's this
it.
special ADHD thing that neurotypicals would never think of doing. No, it's just all that. I'm like, well, that's boring. But I got other things to do. I want to do my podcast and my degree. I don't want to go and go
Yeah,
for a
well,
walk
yeah.
and do some self-compassion work. And it's one of our biggest issues is finding interest in things that aren't interesting, and that's half the battle. So I'm presuming, as a coach, that must be a big part of it, is like letting them see the beauty and the awe and the joy in these simple things that could transform our lives. I guess it's half the.
Yeah. That is half the battle. It's finding, and this is where I was saying, I mean, we spoke earlier about RSD and imposter syndrome and never feeling good enough. And, I often question, am I qualified enough to do this? Because I'm not medically trained. But I look at, reviews and people email me now and say, Charlotte, my life has changed so much. I can't thank you enough. And it doesn't matter about the PhD, the doctorate, the study, that what you've done. The most beautiful part is in learning and coaching, especially, is it's the connection that you have with that person. If you can find someone that can connect with you to then teach you about your brain, that's the bit that gets you excited and makes you do the work. So the part that we were saying about, okay, but how do you get going? How do you get doing it? I wish I had a blueprint. I wish I had a blueprint to send to everyone. Here's how you do it. But ADHD doesn't work like that, which is why coaching is so powerful, because if you find the right coach that connects with you, that's how you're going to inspire yourself. It's how you're going to drive that dopamine to get going, because you want to, because you're connected.
Yeah, so much of the healing comes from relationship, whether it's.
It's
We
totally
know that, and we
relationship.
know that for.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna this particular episode. We're just gonna riff, Charlotte, because I can see. I look at my. I'm like, screw the notes. This is epic. So, just feeding off that, it's kind of like, I don't know what it's like for you, but or for the ADHDers out there. They say, healing comes from being seen and being held in that way, being seen in a non-judgmental way, being able to be your true authentic self, all the cheesy lines that we love to use. But for me, I don't really have many friends. I find sustaining friendship really difficult, mostly because I'm distracted by all this other dopamine stuff. But also I find it really hard to like just build up momentum, and I just forget to message people.
Mhm.
I don't really have many friends that I go for a drink with. I know I've got a family and a stepson and all that, but it's sad. Even now, I don't have many. I get to meet amazing people like you, but it's not like a long-term friendship thing. And it's like, oh, that's a bit sad. So I guess it's kind of, I don't know if that's our RSD playing in there. I mean, what are your thoughts there on how ADHDs kind of can be a bit introverted, really, kind of hide away a little bit as well, maybe with shame.
I think yeah, 100%. I think it depends on your ADHD type. I know I said earlier about, they're coming away from types, but I do see types. So the more inattentive types I see are the ones that enjoy, so I'll give you an example. I had a client who she didn't have it. Well, she did have friends, but she wasn't seeing any of her friends. And the struggle was going out for a drink was really hard because the pub is really stimulating. It's not an environment she wanted to be in. And so going to the pub was the first obstacle. So she pulled away from that, not knowing. She thought she was being a recluse. She thought she wasn't being sociable. But put her in her, she loved knitting. Put her in her knitting circle with her cup of coffee and her knitting friends, and she was connecting and she was thriving. So I think a lot of our social patterns are, again, we were saying about how society make us think these norms that we need to follow. Maybe it's not the norm that you go to the pub on the Friday night. That for me is hell. I don't want to go and sit in a pub on a Friday night. I don't enjoy it. It's too much. I just sit with my bloody earplugs in. It's like, what's fun for that? But for me, every morning without fail, I get up and I take my dog for a walk to my local coffee shop. The guys in there know Coco, they know me, they know my order. That, for some odd reason, makes me feel loved, makes me feel connected. They ask me what I'm up to. I know about their lives. I know if it's their birthdays or if they're going on a holiday. That is connection for me. That's that little, I call them my micro communities. So I have lots of little tiny micro communities, and that works for me. But for me to have, growing up, I never had big friendship. You had the groups in school, didn't you? I was never part of a group. I was always a drifter, and I liked it. But I wish, looking back now, I had the confidence to be a drifter. I'm still a drifter. I don't have my core set of friends that we always go out on a Saturday night, or no. Things happen when they happen. We'll go and meet for a coffee or a lunch, but it's stuff that I actually enjoy doing. So I would say look at, what is connection to you? What is friendship to you? Because if going to the pub and having drinks with people is your idea of social connection and that doesn't work for you, maybe it's just the type of connection, maybe it's the environment.
Yeah, I think that's a huge one. And I think, as you were saying that, it's kind of like some of the people I've met on this journey already in 8 months, 8 months, 2 months. I wish it was 8 months. I'd be all through the journey. But 2 months, that I've made some friends already. So I message them, we message back and forth. It's like, oh my God, I get to talk to somebody about like all my weird things, and they've got weird things. Shout out to Darren because he'll probably be listening. And it's just been so lovely to just, like you said, I literally just said to you earlier, oh, I guess I sit here and talk to you, and then, but it's not really the same thing. It's like, well, hang on a minute. If my way of
But that is
connect is to
connection,
connect with
yeah.
you today in this moment, and that fills my soul, then that's my version. I like to just have really important conversations. I get so bored with just light chat. Like, oh, how are you? See that?
Oh, the
Oh my
mundane,
God,
yeah.
someone kill me. It's just like I want to talk about, I want to talk about trauma. I want to talk about, you know, what does nature do to our nervous system? Or to talk about, or if I want to talk about a film, I like to talk in depth about it and what the story's trying to say, what the narrative is, what's the moral viewpoint, So it's because it's more stimulating. So I guess we have to honor our need for stimulation. I guess we need to look into that, you know, focusing more on your work. Do people come to you kind of, yeah, struggling with that stimulation piece? Is that something you see, how they just feel flat and lethargic and they don't know what to do, even though they do like things, but
A lot of times when clients come to me, it's often too late. It's not too late. We, obviously nothing's ever too late, but it's often, I wish people recognize the need for coaching before they hit rock bottom, essentially. Because a lot of people come to me and they're like, I can't carry on. And it's like, okay, well, what do you enjoy doing? Nothing. I don't enjoy doing anything. And that's now because the brain has flipped onto humans have a negative cognitive bias anyway, but ADHDers, we have we like our brain loves to go down the negativity route. And that's partly to do with we do in a really toxic way we do get a bit of dopamine from negativity,
Mm.
because it's that doom and gloom, and then maybe we can look at something bright after, and it's the known, so we get dopamine from the pattern and the known behavior, so it's very complex. But I'd often say if you're in a place where you're just like there's nothing I enjoy. Nothing brings me joy. I don't want to do anything. I've got no drive for anything. There's no motivation. Bring it right back to basics. And at the depth of my depression phase, you know, trying to end my life, I don't, that is rock bottom. There's no other for me that I know that the absolute depths of where my brain can take me. Someone told me, this was actually the coach that I had at the time. He was like, "Where's your joy?" I said, "There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing." He said, "You've got to find something." Okay, fine. I love coffee.
Hmm.
I always had coffee. Okay, right, you like coffee. I like making the coffee, but when I was at work, I couldn't make the coffee. Okay, well, can you go out for the coffee? Yeah, I can go out for the coffee. And I hated my job at the time. Yeah, I can go out for coffee. I want you to find the joy in that coffee. And I'm not joking. I sat every morning with that cup of coffee and I just went, I really love this coffee. I really love this coffee. And day by day, bit by bit, it was like, oh, I actually really love the walk to get the coffee. And oh, I've never noticed that building before. I really like that. Oh, I saw that dog yesterday. Oh, that person smiled at me. Oh, and the next day I saw them again. And suddenly, slowly, our brain starts taking in more of the joy. And we start to be aware of the things that we like again. But it's not overnight. And that's another trouble with us ADHDers. It's like, well, I'm broken now, fix me. I want the fix. And we want it overnight. We want the button but it doesn't work like that. And so it's kind of a lot. I talk a lot in my coaching about finding the gray area, because we live on a roller coaster of extreme highs and even lower lows. Finding the gray, which is often a line of boredom, which we do not want to be in, we don't like it, but finding the gray and being comfortable in it and finding the joy in it is a large part of managing ADHD. Sorry, I went off on a bit of tangent there, but yeah, finding your joy. You've got to start small and start being aware. Do you know the oh, what's it called? Bugger, I'm not going to remember. You know, when someone, let's say you're looking at a new car and it's a red Kia, suddenly you're seeing every other car's a red Kia. You know that theory? I can't remember what it's called.
Yeah. I was just going to
Bugger.
say that to you
Anyway,
about the red car thing. You beat me to it.
it's it's not that there are more red Kias on the road. It's that your mind is now open to them because you've questioned being open to it.
Mm.
So now you're noticing it. The same with joy, the same with feeling, the same with positive expectation. If you sorry, with looking forward to the future, if you start opening your mind to joy and enjoying things, suddenly things that you enjoy just start appearing. And it's that. I'm going to look it up. I have to look it up. Sorry, I have to look up what that theory is.
Yeah, just
It's going to bother
let
me.
the audience know as you do that. It's kind of like where your attention, was it where your attention flows, energy flows anyway? Wait,
Energy
energy.
grows. Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
Energy flows. Energy grows. But I don't know about you, but I'm a science and fact person. Like, if I can't understand like the real why to it, which is why I think therapy sometimes didn't work, and I think that the other end of the spectrum of holistic therapies were a bit too. A lot of my therapy is holistic. And some would say woo woo, but if I can't see a scientific fact behind it, I'm not going to take it in. Um, uh,
yeah, it's 'cause
I have to find it now.
when you're bringing your attention to something like the red car, and then you're going to be you just can't stop seeing them. With me and my stepson do it all the time when we're on long road trips. We're looking for a specific kind of car. It's like a Vauxhall Mocha, which I have. Another Mocha, another Mocha. I said, I've never seen a Mocha in my
Yeah.
bloody life till today. What?
And now you're taking all of them in. Okay, so it's called the reticular activating
Uh,
system, RAS, the RAS effect. And it's saying here, RAS is the part of your brain that filters information and determines what gets your attention. So if you decide to buy a red car, you suddenly start noticing red cars everywhere. This isn't because there are more red cars, it's because your brain now is tuned in to notice them. And then it says Bader-Mempher phenomenon, which is a cognitive bias where you start noticing something more frequently after learning about it.
yeah, it's interesting. And then you can throw in the kind of, I don't know about you, they talk about how hyper aware we are of other people's body language, facial expressions when they're speaking. I can tell instantly if someone isn't not in a good place, it's in polyvagal, they talk about neuroception. So like your nervous system's picking up on another nervous system before you even get a chance to have a thought about it. And that feeling then turns your brain on. Your brain goes, dangerous, creepy, cool. Love that. And you're having to work with that hyper awareness. So not only are we trying to bring attention to things that could help us build foundations for our life, we're also having to work with this bloody, I have anyway, this hyper aware of my surroundings, which can make it really hard in high sensory environments. It's like I can't turn it off. It's just like people everywhere. What are they doing? What are they doing? And it's bloody exhausting. So any thoughts on
Yeah.
hyper aware?
So I would pivot that and question if you can have a bit of a mindset flip on that, because that what you're talking about is the same. It's the same brain networking, right? It's the same awareness piece. So I would flip that and go, right, my hyper awareness that is aware of all these other people's emotions and environments and stimulus, how can I use this to my advantage? Because I know it's bloody works. I know it's strong. We've proved that it's strong. So how can I train it to tune in on things that I'd like it to tune in on, rather than the things that I don't want it to, which is it's easier said than done. And this is where I go into talking about ADHD fundamentals within my program. You've got to make sure your fundamentals are absolutely on point, because if they're not, it's going to be very hard for you to change brain behavior and your networks and go with the patterns that you want to. One of mine's sleep, and I've just flown home from New York. I feel like I've done 2 all-nighters. I didn't sleep on the plane, and so that's why I'm going to be really bad with my working memory today, because my sleep's off. But once you're aware of it, it's easier to understand. And rather than kind of going, oh my god, you said that and you did that and you didn't get that point across, it's kind of just having that acceptance of there are going to be days that I'm great and I'm going to be absolutely fine. There are going to be days that I'm not okay. So for instance, today we didn't go to the coffee shop because it was going to be busy and it was going to be a busy morning, and I didn't need that extra stimulus today. But because I'm aware of it, because my fundamentals are off, I know what I can avoid and I know my limitations basically.
It's interesting. Is that kind of linked to baseline? I've heard a lot about baseline in podcasts I've listened to, knowing what your baseline is before you tip into overstimulation, and building from your baseline slowly but surely build up from there, and maybe increase your baseline up. I'm just making this up at this point. It just sounds good. So increasing your base.
It does sound good. I'm like, oh, I like it.
So you have a baseline before you tip either way, and then you just all the work that you're doing is to increase your baseline. So it's window tolerance. They talk about a lot of that in mindfulness. So window of tolerance, what you're able to do. I don't like the word tolerance. It sounds horrible. The window of tolerance doesn't sound very sexy, does it? It needs to be something better than that. But that's a big part of it, and it's kind of I know I even know how many minutes it is before my brain goes, no, here's some sympathetic energy. Enjoy that. Go on then, heart, pump away, get some anxiety. So if I get to like more than 28 or so minutes of studying, I start getting really anxious, but I call it sympathetic charge. I don't like to use anxious because then it makes me have a negative connotation. So sympathetic charge kicks in. So I guess that's my baseline. And most of the time, 28 minutes of study, cool. I'm the expert napper. Like my sleep isn't great. It feels like my brain is on the entire time I'm sleeping. I don't feel like I get any deep sleep. When I wake up, I feel exhausted, and my dreams are like awesomely intense. Like I'm living a whole new life. It's so vivid. It's great. But the naps change my life. If I do a 20-minute nap, I feel fantastic. So it's just knowing that's the thing I need to do, a couple of naps a day,
Yeah.
and then I'm good to go. So it's so much.
And you find what works for you. But I think, and so as I'm sorry, I'm listening. As I'm listening to you, actually, as we're doing this whole thing, I'm thinking, I'm thinking in the eyes of someone that's new to ADHD, or just thinks they've got it or has a diagnosis. And for a lot of people, for me, I know that I can skip the coffee morning and start work a bit later, or I can, because I've enabled my life to be that way. But for a lot of people that are working your normal kind of 8 till 5, whatever, it's not possible to go for 2 20-minute naps. Because if you asked your boss for 2 20-minute naps, they'd ask, is everything okay? And so a lot of my a lot of times I'm very conscious of advocating for people to ask for what they need at work and work around that. And it might be that, maybe 5 days in the office is too intense because you need 2-minute 20 naps, and so how can we work around it? Could we work from home 3 days a week, and you put a blocker in your calendar? You don't take the full hour lunch, but you take 2 30-minute lunches at different points of the day, and try and fit it in around that. I wish I could nap. I can't nap.
I lie down and my partner's like, what the actual hell? It takes her ages.
Straight
I
asleep.
work night. I think I'm just already exhausted. I think it's partly why it is. But it's like you said, it's kind of it has to also fit in, yeah, with your schedule and how it works. And people don't realize that workplaces, I don't know if it's law, but as far as I'm aware, they are supposed to honor anything to do with neurodivergence. They're supposed to maybe slightly accommodate where possible. Don't think people realize that. They keep it inside. They don't tell their workplace about it. I have.
They don't tell, but it's a large part of, that's the shame and that's the guilt. And I think that's a large part of what I cover in coaching is freeing yourself of that, because you would not say to someone in a wheelchair with one leg, oh, well, I think it's a bit, what, it's ridiculous you can't get up those stairs. So why do we give ourselves, such a hard time? Because for an obvious disability, we of course we adapt and we make changes, but for a hidden disability, and it's kind of giving the people power to go, no, it's okay that you struggle with this, and it's okay to say, I wouldn't struggle with this as much if I could have X, Y, and Z. That's okay.
Yeah, I love when people do comparisons like you just done then. It's so powerful, isn't it, when you hear it the other way around? Oh my God, yes. And when a neurotypical hears it, they're like, oh God, yeah, you're right. And then it hopefully will help them understand it a little bit more, which is, yeah, really powerful. Right, we've got about 20 minutes left. So I want to understand a little bit about kind of the key breakthroughs. So obviously don't give any trade secrets away, we all put to book in. But what,
You want my trade
no trade secrets.
secrets? um,
What are the key things you find? Like, so you do the 12-week course and they have that 4 to 6 week bit where they're trying to get out of it and then they get past that. So what are like the key breakthroughs? Is it that they suddenly know what works for them, they understand their baseline, or that self-love kicks in, or what do you think some of the key dynamics you think that really help people shift?
the main parts. What are the main things? I mean, everyone's different, which is why I say I don't have a. If I had a blueprint, I'd be a rich woman, um, in monetary value. I would say understanding RSD to its real depths. That that's a real big game changer for a lot of my clients. And actually being aware when it's RSD, because oftentimes, I mean, awareness is your first piece. If there's anything that you need to learn, it's awareness. You need to raise your awareness to your behavior and question: is this helpful? Is this loving? Is this real? Is it factual? Is it, because I think a lot of the times our brains, we've got the most amazing imaginations. Let that run, you're going to be a mess. So kind of getting control of that to then help with the RSD piece, that all comes from awareness. So raising your awareness to your RSD, and then once you're aware that it might be RSD, learning some tools and techniques. So just some off the top of my head. Oh, okay. This one I love. I use this myself. I've always found family quite difficult, because I'm pretty sure most of my family are ADHD. They just don't address it. So everyone's triggered by everyone at every moment. And so I have now started to use ChatGPT to write my messages to my family.
Ah,
And I can't tell you what a game changer that is. Because a message where I want to say to them, when you did X, Y, and Z the other day, that was really unkind and I really didn't appreciate that. And that wasn't okay. And I didn't like that. I'll put it into ChatGPT and suddenly it's rewritten this beautiful thing of, I really love you and I love our connection. And for us to be, and it turns it into the most fluffy, amazing message, which I think often with us ADHDers, we're quite blunt. Like we know fact, we know we're black or white, we know what was right and what's wrong. And a lot of the times we want to not prove, but we want to
mm,
put across when something unfair has happened. So yeah, ChatGPT, utilize ChatGPT. It's amazing how much that can do for your life. Pause 24. So this is where if something's happened and it's quite emotionally charged, pause on it. Take a pause. And it's okay to say to the person, can we just pause on this? I'm going to come back to you tomorrow. I need time to process it. that's okay. But again, with ADHD, our rejection sensitivity, we're going to feel like, oh no, can't do that. Oh, it's putting people out. You have to get past all that first, which, again, is why coaching is so powerful, because we work through all that. And then another one for RSD is a tool that I use. It's a psychology tool, and it's called the automatic thought processing patterns. And I've created mine. A lot of the psychology tools that I use are not neurodivergent friendly. Meaning, okay, for example, have you heard of the Eisenhower matrix?
No, teach me, teach me.
Okay, let me pull up my sheets.
Yeah, I think for anybody that's listening, it's kind of like it's that relationship piece again, really. It's just understanding what you can do when you can do it and getting the aids that you require. There's so many cool aids out there on the market, whether it be an app.
Yeah, and then it's and then it's staying consistent with your aids.
It's like, yeah, I've got all these
So
apps. I did and then
downloading Notion and Google Maps and Apple Maps and sorry, not Maps, Calendar, and then you've got 7 different things with different appointments in, and you don't know which one it's in. So it's be mindful of there are some points that you have to kind of pull yourself in and go, right, I'm sticking to this. I'm going to set a goal of, for the next 31 days, I'm going to religiously look at this at 7 p.m. every night. Or, and writing it down and setting the goal and actually then going after it. Okay, it is the Eisenhower matrix. So the classic Eisenhower is urgent and important. Oh no, sorry, that's not true. The Eisenhower. Okay, the rough guide of it is high energy, low energy, importance, and not importance. Not important. And so for my ADHD brain, it was like, well, everything's high energy and everything's important. So it all lived in the same box. So that didn't work. So what I do with my tools is I'll break them down into an ADHD friendly way. So I have my ADHD matrix, which is here we go. High impact, low impact, high effort, low effort, major projects, quick wins, fill-ins, and thankless tasks. That doesn't make sense to my ADHD brain. So I've broken it down. Important and urgent. That's one quadrant. You're going to do that right now. So if it's important and urgent, that's a right now box. Not urgent, but it is important. We're going to schedule it. So you're going to time block it in your calendar and you're going to schedule it in. Urgent and not important, avoid or delegate. So this can be things like, I don't know, what could this be? Not important but urgent. Not important but urgent. Okay, so maybe something. For me, this is kind of doing, when I say avoid or delegate, these are things that I struggle with. So for instance, I have a PA and she does the things that are important, but that is important, so that doesn't really make sense. Oh, it's not important to me. Anyway, we delegate those. Anyway, delegate. Learn to delegate. You can delegate things that are not important to you, but that they are urgent. Okay, so doing my tax return, it's not important to me, but it is urgent. So I'm going to delegate that, because otherwise it's not going to get done and I'm probably going to get in trouble. And probably also going to schedule it, and then do at your discretion, which is the last box, which is not urgent, not important. So this might be, I don't know, there's a new pair of trainers that you want and you want to try and find the best price for them. So it's not important, it's not urgent. So do it at your discretion. When you've got spare 15 minutes, you know that you can go on your phone and have a scroll, or things like that. Does that make sense? Have I just made any sense?
No, I love it. And I love all of that. That's a really, really cool idea, because there's so much going on in our brain. There's so much we want to do and think we should do and need to do. It gets so overwhelming, such a huge thing for us all, isn't it? Overwhelm is just, because our brain is trying to hold it all and it can't. Oh, I'm seeing some stuff on screen here, guys. That's exciting.
I thought I'd just show you because I think that would be, so that's the normal one, high impact, low effort, and so everything used to live in this box, major projects.
Yeah, yeah. We have to adjust it, don't we? You just have to adjust it for us guys, in the best possible way. But yeah, like I said, the overwhelming thing is such a huge part of it all, isn't it? I have so much to do, and I'm quite overwhelmed by all my stuff. And people are like, why don't you just stop doing all of it? And I'm like, all my podcasting, social media. I'm like, no, I like it. And rather than just being silly and saying I like it, you know what? The two things that about, other than dopamine, about my two podcasts and my seven social media platforms is, to me, it is purposeful and it's meaningful. You know, I have a really, really boring, crappy job that I do somehow quite like as well. So I'm calling it that, but I do actually quite like it. But it doesn't really pay me enough, and that's really hard. But I need meaning and purpose in my life, for my, I think probably for me as a human being, and maybe for my neurodivergent brain, and that's why I do it. So if I can manage it well and know that things have to wait, you have to edit it later. You don't have to finish it now, Owen. Just it's fine. You can wait till tomorrow. Is I know that purpose and meaning means a lot to me in my life. I want to be of value. I want to cause ripples. I want to do something that creates a ripple. So this conversation between me and Charlotte can ripple out, can really help someone that helps someone else. And when I die, I can say I left all those ripples everywhere, which is really, really lovely. So that's my purpose and my meaning, but I'm going to have a good relationship with it because it can go horribly wrong. I guess that's part of the MD lifestyle, really. So it's managing that without medication, I guess. Apparently, it quietens the mind. That's I've been told. So that means maybe you can make the decisions easier because your brain's not fighting against itself. Like you must finish, which is my big one. So if
So I would if you're so with that, what you're talking about there, you know how I was saying earlier, I'm very conscious not to use the word anxiety, but it can feel like anxiety. What you're talking about there is your ADHD energy, and that's your impulse control coming up. It's the impulse you want to do it because it gives you dopamine. So I would be looking at with you, where are you getting your dopamine throughout the day? There is I've got on the program, actually on the club, it's on the club as a downloadable, the dopamine menu. So that's making sure that you've got consistent levels of dopamine throughout the day. Sorry, not levels. We all have dopamine in our brain. It's just the way that our neurotransmitter actually receives the dopamine. But we can do things that enhance the neurotransmitters processing the dopamine. And the way that we do that is through dopamine activities. So on the club, there's a thing called a dopamine menu, which is taken from a really famous ADHD coach who wrote a book. And it's basically getting lots of little windows of dopamine in. So, for instance, things like breath work, meditation, exercise, coffee, different foods can enhance dopamine regulation. Going outside, going to the sea, all these sorts of little things. We can get micro amounts of dopamine in. The idea is if you have six level amounts of dopamine a day, you should be able to control that energy that you're feeling a bit easier without medication. Not everyone has the effect on medication that it quietens the mind. For me, it makes me 100 times worse.
okay,
My anxiety is off the Richter scale, and I've tried all different medications. None of them worked. So I've had to find things that work for me in a natural way. Ice baths are my absolute go-to. I love an ice bath. If you want a calm, quiet mind, get in an ice bath.
yeah, that seems to be applied to lots of different populations, I suppose. It's the thing. But yeah, thank you for that. I think I want to maybe start a dopamine diary. So just looking at where those little spikes come from. I do have lots of little things that I use for dopamine too, which is really great. Just 5 minutes of a DJ set for, chilled house music or disco house music. And
Amazing.
a little dance
Yeah.
for 5 minutes. I'm washing up. I'm full of dopamine, guys. I'm loving. So
Brilliant.
it's knowing that, yeah, all my projects is like uber dopamine, but it's also time consuming and it means I stop doing anything else. I don't do my washing, I don't sort out the flat, and it's just, yeah, all basic
Mm.
life stuff goes completely out the window. So knowing, okay, that's my uber dopamine long-term stuff. And then I've got my even, that's not the naps really, that's slightly different, but um it was ice cream, so I'm trying to get rid of that as my dopamine source. That's problematic. But enjoy it where I can. But yeah, like I said, the music thing's a really good example. Getting outside for a walk. I've got this amazing park right by my flat. So going for a little walk out there and I'm done, or going to the sea. No, that's a bit more time consuming. But it doesn't always have to be my project. So I'm working on what should we call it? Baby dopamine? I don't know. Little small bits. But anyway, guys, I'm like 9 weeks into this, so I'm very new, but I'm feeling like I'm getting some free coaching here on this call, which is pretty cool. So I'm gonna kind of try and wrap us up because every person I've ever had on the show, I say same joke. We could do a charity stream for 4 hours, but we're not going to do that. So what I want you to do now is give us your beautiful parting message to our listeners. I want you to tell us, how we're going to be okay. Us NDs are going to be okay, and we're amazing beings. Give us a big, beautiful goodbye speech, please. No.
Oh gosh, the pressure. I okay, what is my parting message? My parting message to anyone listening to this is if you've listened all the way through, well done. ADHD and all that. I would say you're not alone. And I know this is all very cliche and everyone probably says the same stuff, but you're not alone. There are communities out there that offer amazing free support and help and guidance. Educate yourself as much as you can. You're not broken. This isn't something we need to fix. Many people live life with ADHD and never need 1 hour of therapy. This isn't something that's broken. It's just a different operating network, it's a different operating system, and it's learning what works and what doesn't work. And that's it. It's not about trying to fit in or trying to mask and being something for everyone. Find what works for you, find your happiness, and run with it. Stop trying to find the reasons whys and the causes. Just learn on what you can control and go with that.
Yeah, thanks so much. I love that. We're obsessed with why though. Why is this happening? I'm very
Yeah.
stuck. It's like the let it go, just do the work. You don't need to know why. But if you're noticing those feeling sensations in your experience of life, then that can only be a really wonderful thing. So
Mm.
amazing. Well, it's been wonderful. Like every guest I've ever had, I tell them they must return for more chit chat. So if I'm low on new people, I'll be calling you all up. Hey guys, let's go again. But this is your chance to plug your services. Go on. Tell us where we can find you, why we should work with you. Go on. Sell, sell, sell.
Oh, plug my stuff. So my services. So at the moment, obviously I do my one-on-one coaching, which isn't accessible for everyone, but you can go. One nugget of information, if you're listening to this, Access to Work, guys. It's a government-backed grant that you can apply for that gives you funding for things like ADHD coaching, noise cancelling headphones, or you name it. You can ask for it if you need these adaptations in your life. So go to Access to Work to find the funding if you want to get one-on-one coaching. And then obviously my website, which is if you type in Charlotte Fry ADHD coach to Google, you'll find me. I'm on Instagram as Charlotte Fry ADHD coach. And then the ADHD Club, which is my new baby. She's 2 months old, and I'm very, very, very passionate and proud of it. It's a bit of a passion project. It doesn't really make any money, if I'm honest, but it's my way of giving back. And there's a whole community of us on there from all different walks of life, all sharing our wins, our struggles, our fails, and then with lots of ADHD coaching in it. So we do group coaching once a month, and we have special guests on. So we've had an ADHD breathwork specialist. We had Dr. Mark Rackley, who's an ADHD, a well-known ADHD doctor. Who else have we had on? We've got an ADHD coach coming on actually next week. And so for 20 quid a month for what you get, it's, I think, really, really, really amazing and really good value if you want to try and figure out this ADHD stuff in a more affordable way. And coaching isn't accessible to you. So yeah, they're the different ways that you can find me.
Amazing. That group sounds absolutely awesome. And I love that, having people coming in and doing guest spots and things like that. That's such a good idea. Guys, there's plenty of NDers out there that really want to help. So just go and find your tribe. It's like anything, even neurotypicals. Just find your person, find your tribe. I'm certainly doing that, and it's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing to finally be seen for once. Oh, it's the best. So thanks so much, Charlotte, for coming on. This has been fantastic.
Thank you so much for having
That's all
me.
right. Thank you for the free coaching. I'm grateful. I always get some of that. Maybe that's why I'm doing it. Who knows? But no, that's great. I'll put all the links to to all your social media and your business and everything in the show notes. I'm really looking forward to having you back on at some point. And yeah, just thank you for all the work you do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys for listening. If you know any cool coaches out there you've worked with that you think might like a bit of podcast action, send them my way. I'm going out there and risking RSD. And then, like I did with Charlotte, that's what I said to her. I'm risking. Hi, RSD. Would you like to come on my show? And it's working. I'm getting loads of amazing people. And some people don't respond, and it's heartbreaking. But such is life. But yeah, thanks so much for all your support. All our new followers. Thank you, TikTokers. I'm not really a TikTok guy, but this is doing really well on TikTok. All my videos are doing really, really well. So I realized that's where the party's at. So I will keep going over there. There's a new YouTube channel now where I do slightly longer videos, 5 to 6 minutes, talking about various bits with my with all my plant friends behind me in the background. So go and check out some of that. And yeah, I just hope you're getting value. That's the main thing. So thank you for listening. We will see you next time for some more ADHD chat.